这是我去尼泊尔路上遇到最壮观的景象。
On my way to Nepal, I saw the most amazing sight. Rows and rows of Chinese-made BYD electric vehicles. I'm standing here at China's Gyirong port, and all of these BYD cars are lining up to cross the border into Nepal. The way they're exported is very unique. I've never seen anything like it. Every car is driven one by one across the border by a driver.
China is facing overproduction, and one way it's handling this is by exporting large numbers of low-cost electric vehicles overseas. Nepal has become one of the new target markets. On July 8, 2025, the Nepal-China Friendship Bridge connecting Rasuwagadhi in Nepal and Gyirong in Tibet, China, collapsed due to flooding. At least 8 people died and 20 went missing, including 6 Chinese citizens. The collapse cut off a key trade route between the two countries and damaged facilities in the border area. Hundreds of Chinese electric vehicles parked in the dry port were swept away or destroyed. This flood brought global attention to the massive influx of Chinese electric vehicles into Nepal. In recent years, Chinese EVs have rapidly taken over the Nepalese market, drawing international attention. According to Nikkei Asia on July 9th, Chinese electric cars now make up a stunning 76% of Nepal's EV market. In the 2023-2024 fiscal year alone, Nepal imported 8,938 vehicles from China. Brands like BYD, MG, and XPeng are expanding aggressively in Nepal, breaking India's decades-long dominance of the auto market there. China's push for electric vehicles is also seen as part of Beijing's broader geopolitical strategy to strengthen its influence in South Asia and challenge India's traditional leadership in the Himalaya region. On June 16th, Chongqing Daily reported that during a China-ASEAN Automotive Industry Forum, the president of Nepal's Automotive Dealers Association, Karan Chaudhary, said that Chinese EVs now hold 95% of Nepal's electric vehicle market. Data from Nepal's Customs Office shows that in the 2023-2024 fiscal year, 11,700 electric vehicles were imported, and nearly 70% of them were from China. That's 35 times more than 5 years ago. According to Republica, a Nepalese newspaper, from mid-April to mid-May, 605 electric vehicles were imported through the Gyirong-Rasuwagadhi border crossing. These included 500 electric cars, jeeps, and vans, as well as 105 large and small trucks. The main brands included BYD, MG, GAC, XPeng, and Radar. BYD and minivan-style vehicles made up the majority. The BYD Auto 3 and Dolphin models are priced between 4 million and 5.5 million Nepalese rupees. That's about 210,000 to 290,000 Chinese yuan. The price range fits perfectly with the spending power of Nepal's middle class. On some days, more than 50 vehicles were delivered. The MG's ZSEV, with its long driving range of 428 kilometers and smart driving assistance features, has become the top choice for taxi drivers in Kathmandu. But Chinese automakers aren't just selling cars, they're also investing in local production to strengthen their presence in Nepal. In 2024, Xiaomi Qinglong, United Automotive Industry Company from China, announced that it would invest 3 billion Nepalese rupees to build an electric vehicle assembly plant in Nepal. The technology and equipment would be imported from China. Additionally, local EV production in Nepal started even earlier. Back in late April 2022, Nepali media reported that Sundar Auto Engineering, a related company of Sundar Transport, had begun making electric vehicles in Nepal. 2 years earlier, Sundar Auto had teamed up with Sichuan Guohong Automobile from China, investing about 1 billion rupees to set up an assembly plant in the Butwal industrial zone of Rupandehi district. They import the parts from China and assemble the vehicles locally, with the Chinese side holding 80% of the investment. Just a few years ago, Nepal's electric vehicle market was dominated by South Korean brands like Hyundai and Kia. But between 2020 and 2022, India's largest EV manufacturer, Tata Motors, shifted the market by launching the compact SUV Tata Nexon, which overtook the Korean brands to become number one. Although Chinese EVs have performed well in the market, concerns over quality and safety have caused serious backlash in Nepal. In October 2024, the Nepalese media outlet fiscalnepal.com published a strong critique about China dumping EVs in the Nepalese market. The report said that Nepal had become a testing ground for Chinese electric vehicles, but with poor standards, unreliable charging infrastructure, and frequent safety issues, the public was growing deeply concerned. One example cited a Series 3 electric car by Dongfeng. It caught fire in Sitapala, Kathmandu. Before that, another Chinese EV caught fire in Bunantikanta. Even the MGZS EV, made by a Chinese manufacturer, caught fire while charging. The article said that after several fire incidents involving Chinese EVs, both experts and consumers are starting to question their long-term durability and safety. It warned that the Nepalese government must act quickly to avoid turning Nepal into a dumping ground for defective and dangerous Chinese vehicles. However, the article was later taken down. Another report on fiscalnepal.com covered a separate fire incident at the end of 2023. It involved a Chinese-made MG electric car in Budanikanta. The report said that the MGZS EV appeared to use substandard batteries and power systems, which led to serious damage. In April this year, South Asia Network, citing Republica, reported that experts had called for clear safety and quality standards for imported EVs. During an industry dialogue hosted by the Nepal Automobile Dealers Association, participants voiced concerns that unrestricted imports of various EV brands could make Nepal a dumping ground. The report did not name China directly. Associate Research Fellow Dai Zhiyan at the Tsinghua University of Economic Research said that most Chinese car makers don't have the capacity to build factories abroad. Instead, they focus on setting up local dealership networks, often through companies backed by Chinese capital, sometimes using local names on paper. In some cases, local companies have had large portions of their shares bought up by Chinese firms. Local governments then present these projects as investment successes. Dai noted that some of the public and media criticism in Nepal might be suppressed either by the Nepalese authorities or by the Chinese Communist Party. Since Nepal doesn't have much of a domestic car industry, unless a group or company openly criticizes China's dumping practices for harming Nepal's interests, it's hard for the backlash to make a real impact. Dai said he has seen some internal documents from Chinese EV companies and found troubling signs of cost-cutting in materials. For example, the front bender in some cars meant to protect passengers in a collision was just a thin piece of metal shaped like a beam, but without real strength. If the car crashes, it could be extremely dangerous. Through its Belt and Road Initiative and EV exports, China is deepening its influence in Nepal and challenging India's traditional leadership in South Asia. This has once again raised concerns about Beijing's broader geopolitical ambitions. In recent years, China has poured large amounts of money into infrastructure projects in Nepal. One major example is the Pokhara International Airport, which opened on January 1, 2023. The airport was built with a $210 million loan from China's Export-Import Bank and is considered a flagship Belt and Road project. In August 2024, the Nepalese government asked China to convert the loan into a grant to reduce its debt burden. Then, in April 2025, reports surfaced that poor quality materials were used in the project, sparking public controversy. Dai Zhiyan noted that many countries involved in China's Belt and Road Initiative have ended up in debt disputes with China. In the end, key infrastructures in these countries often end up under the control of Chinese companies. The BRI clearly hasn't lived up to its promise of win-win cooperation. Instead, it looks more like Beijing's strategy for overseas expansion, but the quality of Chinese-built infrastructure is a serious concern. For example, Nepal's airport has come under fire for construction flaws, and in Myanmar, during an earthquake, a Thai government audit building built by a Chinese company collapsed. Dai also noted that China's electric vehicle industry is facing deep problems. The government does not respect market forces and constantly interferes through state power, launching wave after wave of subsidies and incentive policies. This has led to a serious misallocation of resources. He said, even though China is now a major car-producing country, the industry itself is very chaotic. When price wars break out, they can last 2 or 3 years at a time. Dai pointed out that under China's current system, dumping large volumes of low-priced products overseas is almost inevitable. But if you look at the financial reports of many of these companies, you'll find that they're selling at a loss, another sign that resources are being misused. For years, China's auto industry has relied on a gray market, propped up by government support. In this system, brand new vehicles are registered straight off the production line and labeled as used cars to be exported overseas. Recently, a Chinese vlogger posted on Douyin about selling 2 Mercedes EQE SUVs to buyers in Nepal as 0-kilometer used cars.
These 2 cars were tricky to sell here, and we weren't sure we'd even find buyers. But as soon as we posted the video, our colleagues sold them straight to our international friends, brothers from Nepal. Over there, these cars sell for more than double the price. In Nepal, they go for 700,000 to 800,000 yuan, but here we sold them for just over 200,000 yuan. So in terms of value, they are a great deal. These are brand new cars, just labeled as 0-kilometer used cars.
The EQE SUV is a fully electric model from Mercedes-Benz EQ lineup, made in China through a joint venture with Beijing-Benz. In China, the base price starts at 480,000 yuan, about $68,000, and it could go up to 89,000 US. Due to fierce competition in the domestic market, many dealers have faced stockpiles of unsold inventory. This has led to a growing trend of exporting used cars that have never been driven. Chinese users on Reddit have discussed this, noting that some EQE models sold poorly in China and were offered at discounts of up to 50%. That brings the price down to nearly 243,000 yuan, right in the range of these zero-mileage used cars. According to Reuters, many of these so-called used cars have never been driven. They're exported to countries like Russia, Central Asia, and the Middle East, allowing Chinese automakers to boost their export numbers and offload cars they can't sell domestically. The founder of consulting firm Sino Auto Insights explained, "This is the result of 4 years of brutal price wars. Every company is doing whatever it takes to grab as much market share as possible." Reuters found that over a dozen local governments in China are now pushing the export of zero-mileage used cars as a core part of their economic growth strategy. This practice began in 2019, when China officially allowed second-hand car exports. According to Wang Meng, an advisor at the China Automobile Dealers Association, thousands of sellers are now registering brand-new vehicles as used in order to qualify for this export channel. Mr. Wang stated that by 2024, China is expected to export 436,000 used passenger cars and commercial cars. About 90% of them will likely be zero-kilometer cars. According to data from the China Passenger Car Association, China surpassed Japan in 2023 to become the world's largest exporter of new vehicles, with 6.4 million cars shipped abroad that year. Mr. Wang estimates that about 6% of those exports were actually zero-kilometer used cars. This practice also involves loopholes in government subsidy programs. Some used car dealers buy new vehicles, apply for subsidies meant for scrapping or upgrading old cars, and then resell the same vehicles as used cars for export. In effect, they're using subsidies to lower prices and undercut the market. The flood of brand new vehicles labeled as used has intensified concerns that China is dumping subsidized cars overseas. Some countries worry that this surge will push out local dealers and have begun to fight back. Russia, for example, issued a rule in 2023 banning zero-kilometer used cars from brands that already have official dealerships in the country. Last November, the Commerce Bureau in Heihe, a Chinese city near the Russian border, confirmed the ban applies to Chinese brands like Chery, Chang'an, and Geely. Geely declined to comment. Chery and Chang'an did not respond. Other countries, including Jordan, are adjusting their market regulations. They're redefining what qualifies as a used car, requiring longer timeframes after production or registration before a vehicle can be considered second-hand. As China's electric vehicle industry rapidly expands, more and more videos are surfacing on Chinese social media showing various safety issues, EVs catching fire, doors locking shut, and even fatal incidents where passengers are burned alive. Problems with so-called smart driving features are also becoming more common. In many of these cases, the Chinese government and automakers move quickly to censor criticism, and even involve the police to suppress the public outcry. On the afternoon of July 16th, 2 large cars collided on the Beijing-Shanghai Expressway and caught fire. One was a delivery truck, and the other was carrying vehicles, including multiple electric cars. The flames spread quickly, engulfing the EVs and causing explosions. Thick black smoke filled the air. According to Chinese media, the accident blocked all lanes and the emergency lane, completely shutting down traffic on that stretch of the highway. Witnesses said cars were stuck in traffic for at least 6 hours. The fire on the highway was made worse by the fact that one of the transport trucks was carrying about 20 brand new vehicles that had not yet been delivered to customers. The fire spread rapidly, but fortunately no one was injured. On July 6, a fire broke out at an auto repair shop in Guangdong that specializes in electric and hybrid vehicles. The blaze began while technicians were working on an electric car, and loud popping noises can be heard. This incident once again pushed EV safety concerns into the spotlight. At the scene, one bystander explained that EV battery packs are made up of many small cells, and when they catch fire, they explode one by one, just like firecrackers. On the night of March 29th this year, a serious crash occurred on a highway in Anhui province. A Xiaomi SU7 electric car hit a concrete median and burst into flames. All 3 people in the car died in the fire. According to foreign media, safety concerns about Chinese EVs are beginning to affect their image in international markets, especially in developing countries. In May 2025, a BYD Auto 3 in Malaysia suddenly shut down without warning, nearly causing an accident. The owner, whose name is Iswan, was so concerned about the vehicle's safety that he returned it to BYD, drawing public attention. Similar issues like failures in 12-volt batteries and damage to charging ports have been reported in other countries as well. While some of these problems can be resolved through software updates or warranty service, they've raised global concerns. On Facebook, Iswan wrote that he decided to give up the car less than a year after buying it because he needed to prioritize his family's safety, even though it meant losing the money he's already paid in monthly installments. In recent years, China's EV industry has rapidly grown, offering low-cost models that have made a strong impact in the global market. But this rise has triggered serious concerns in the US and Europe over dumping and government subsidies. Starting in 2024, the US government imposed tariffs of up to 100% on Chinese electric vehicles, effectively shutting them out of the American market. In the summer of 2025, the European Union followed with its own anti-dumping tariffs, ranging from 17% to 35.3%, plus a standard 10% import duty, bringing the total tax burden to as high as 45.3%. These measures aren't just about trade, they reflect growing concerns about geopolitics, national security, and industrial resilience. The European Union sees this as a threat to its domestic EV producers in countries like France, Germany, and Italy. Some fear this is even undermining public support for the green energy transition. The United States, meanwhile, has classified the issue under national security, warning that Chinese products could pose long-term risks to critical technology supply chains and strategic manufacturing. There's also rising concern in the West that AI-equipped Chinese EVs could collect customer data and transmit it back to China. The fact that Chinese companies are building factories abroad has also raised red flags over potential espionage. Political commentator and veteran journalist Shi Shan said Western countries often overlook a key point. The Chinese Communist Party is a very different kind of regime. Its political economic thinking still follows the old Soviet model. In fact, China's system functions like a war economy. The CCP believes that industrial production and military capacity are deeply connected.